welcome to the Performance Management Training for Bureau of Justice Assistance Grantees. This presentation will cover several topics related to performance management at the Bureau of Justice Assistance, or BJA. It is geared specifically for grantees reporting in the Performance Measurement Tool, or PMT. We will discuss the requirements for reporting, including the data and information that you will need to report. We will provide information on the performance measurement process and why it is important not only to BJA, but to you as grantees. We will share some data reporting and goal-setting best practices to ensure success when reporting performance data. Finally, we will share contact information and resources for you to get in touch with us if you need assistance with your performance measures or reporting at any time. So let's get started. In this first section, we will discuss performance management as it relates to BJA grantees. Performance management is the process by which grantees regularly collect data on their grant activities to determine whether they are implementing activities as intended and achieving their desired goals and objectives. We will provide an overview of the process today that includes steps such as setting goals, using performance measures to track progress, and reporting on your program's growth. A foundation of the performance management process at BJA is the use of performance measures or questionnaires. Performance measures are used to collect data and capture inputs, outputs, and outcomes over time. Use of performance measures enables pre- and post comparisons that can be used to assess change. BJA has established performance measures for each grant program. These measures were included in the original solicitation that you responded to. They may also be updated throughout the life of the program. Performance measurement is an important part of the performance management process. This graphic describes the performance management process in comparison to other types of data collection that you may be familiar with or even use to establish your existing program. There are a variety of approaches when it comes to data collection and analysis. Academic research is often used to show causation of a relationship between two variables. For example, academic research can help us answer questions such as, did this program reduce crime? This provides us with the how. We know that crime decreased, but we can use academic research to show how the program was involved in this crime drop. Background research, on the other hand, provides us with the context and story of why performance is where it is in a program. For example, if a grantee reported low numbers for the quarter on all of their performance metrics, we wouldn't know why this occurred unless we asked about the context. We may consider questions such as, did program leadership change? Was there a lack of funding? Or did staff go on vacation? In the middle, we have performance measurement. This provides us with accountability via the raw outputs of a program. For example, did a grantee conduct enough citizen meetings? Did they serve enough people? Are they doing what they said they would do? This helps us to answer who did what, where they did it, and when. There are 3 required sources of data that you will use to report during the life of your grant: performance measures, narrative questions, and closeout questions. The performance measure questions for your program are a series of questions that measure outcomes of grant activities and demonstrate the accomplishment of goals and objectives of BJA programs. Grantees report on performance measures during each quarterly reporting period. A series of narrative questions related to the grantee's specific goals, objectives, barriers, and successes are provided to grantees for use on data reporting and are reported only semi-annually. Finally, closeout questions are a series of questions grantees will only respond to when activities have been completed and the grant is ending. Performance measurement is a process that helps to tell a story about your program. The measures you complete will help you tell your story. This graphic introduces the variety of performance measure types we use to track progress toward program goals and identify areas for improvement. Inputs refer to program resources. Examples include grant funding, like when we ask about your program's funding allocations, by program activities, and personnel, which we assess through a variety of questions about cross-sector partners and community participation. Activities are the actions that convert inputs to outputs that eventually result in measurable progress towards the program's goal. These can include things like training, meetings, partnership development, data analysis, and strategic planning. Outputs are the countable products or services that result from these actions. Outcomes speak to longer-term program goals. Associated outcomes can be found in the outcome section at the end of the performance measure questionnaire. In this next section, we will discuss the importance of performance measurement, not just to BJA, but to you as grantees as well. Performance measures have many purposes and benefits to your program and for BJA. They allow BJA to look at your program holistically, as well as at the local level, to identify areas of success, as well as potential opportunities for improvement. This also allows BJA to target training and technical assistance resources to subjects or localities that need them most. BJA routinely receives data calls and requests, sometimes from Congress or the White House, and relies primarily on the data provided by grantees during reporting periods to respond to these inquiries. BJA and the Office of Justice Programs regularly track progress towards goals and reports annual key performance indicators to leadership during budget formulation, as well as during ongoing yearly monitoring. Finally, the Department of Justice is required to comply with the reporting requirements of federal laws, including the Government Performance and Results Modernization Act of 2010, the Digital Accountability and Transparency Act of 2014, and the Grant Reporting Efficiency and Agreements Transparency Act of 2019. Not only does BJA benefit from performance measurement, but there are many benefits to grantees in your program as well. You should be systematically monitoring performance measures to include some of the data that BJA collects, as well as your own programmatic data, to help identify successes as well as areas for continuous improvement. Monitoring performance measures can help you proactively address challenges and generate evidence that you are meeting your goals. This can lead to sustainability and continued resource advocacy for your program. The data you collect has the potential to show the impacts, not just of your program, but of your organization as well. A common question we receive revolves around what BJA does with the data that grantees work so diligently to collect and report on. We can assure you that the data is used in several important ways. BJA uses the data to inform strategic planning efforts, identify trends, and determine priorities. The information collected from grantees is used to respond to data requests from a variety of sources, including the press, the public, or federal auditors. It also helps BJA to highlight program successes with external audiences, including Congress. Establishing a data collection process for your program should begin at the start, as soon as it's operational. In this next section, we will provide some best practices as you get started. It is important to start with a thorough understanding of what you will need to report on. As a first step, we suggest that you review your program's performance measures, focusing on the numbers, narratives, or other data you will need to collect to answer the questions posed by BJA. Performance measures for BJA programs and other resources can be found on our website, the link listed here. Once you have that understanding, you can formulate a plan for how your agency will collect data and report back to BJA. You can use the questionnaire as a guide to track relevant data in your files in the time interval that is easiest for you. When it is time to report, you can add those figures to determine your reporting period totals. On the screen, you will see an example of a performance measures questionnaire. The questionnaire is a resource that provides an overview of the reporting questions grantees will need to respond to. All data reporting takes place directly in the Performance Measurement Tool, or PMT. The first page of each performance measure questionnaire outlines additional resources that may be helpful as you report. It includes reminders about the program's goals and objectives and lists contact information for the PMT help desk and state policy advisors if you have any questions. We like to note each program's goals and objectives as a reminder of why we are asking you to fill out this questionnaire each quarter. The measures are ultimately there to assess your progress toward your program's goals. There are several other ways to access your program's specific performance measure questionnaires. First, reference your program's solicitation. Visit BJA's performance measurement website or contact the PMT help desk. You can also access your performance measurement questionnaire in the PMT. The PMT is the online data collection tool for OJP's grant recipients and is available year-round. The PMT contains a lot of information and tools to assist you in your reporting process. You can access the PMT at the link listed here. This slide includes a screenshot of the login page. If you are new to reporting, you should have received a welcome email from our with directions on how to create your account and access the PMT. As you may have heard, Just Grants is replacing the grants management system, and it will also eventually replace the PMT entirely. However, grantees should continue to report in the PMT until you are given directions by your grant manager on transition and reporting data directly into Just Grants. This slide includes two screenshots from the PMT that indicate what the screens and questionnaire will look like once you've logged in. An additional training will be available soon that details the reporting process with additional information. For this and other resources related to data entry and reporting, please visit BJA's performance measurement website. Please do not need to reach to our PMT help desk using the email address provided at the end of this training for any support needed with your PMT account. For any questions related to Just Grants, please contact the Just Grants help desk at justgrants.support@usdoj.gov. Now that you've seen a screenshot of what the questionnaire looks like, we will dive a bit further into the content of the questions. Performance measure questionnaires are structured in 3 different types of questions: multiple choice, multiple response, and open text. Multiple choice questions allow grantees to select the response that best reflects their project's activity. With multiple response questions, grantees can select all responses that reflect their activity. Open text questions enable grantees to enter both text and to provide contextualized responses when appropriate. There are three main functions of the questionnaire: baseline, carry forward, and skip flow questions. Baseline questions collect information on activities before your grant becomes operational to enable pre- and post-grant comparisons. Carry forward questions reduce reporting burden by not requiring you to enter, but allowing you to update responses to questions where information is likely to remain stable. Skip flow questions reduce reporting burden by allowing you to skip sets of questions not applicable to your program. Performance measurement questions are made up of two main categories. The first is the quantitative program performance measures. This is where you enter the numeric data you collected over the course of the reporting period. For example, how much was spent on enforcement equipment during this reporting period. The second section includes the qualitative narrative questions. These questions are open-ended and do not require a numeric response. The narrative questions that are answered during the April to June and October to December reporting periods fall into this category. An example of this type of question could be, what type of equipment was purchased with BJA funding during this reporting period? Or, what challenges did you face in completing your program's goals during this reporting period? Remember, these questions are meant to capture the full experience you have with conducting activities with BJA funds. So the more information you can provide, the better. The quantitative data you report is used to establish baselines, track performance against program goals, and create a nationwide picture of numeric data for BJA. Narrative questions are open-ended and give grantees a chance to express in their own words how their experience has been conducting program activities with BJA funding. Both of these categories are equally important for your reporting, and you should take every possible measure to ensure the accuracy and integrity of your data. We want to ensure you are set up for success and will therefore offer a few tips and lessons learned. Establishing solid goals and objectives from the onset has mitigated some of the most common challenges we have seen grantees experience. It is important to write well-defined goals and objectives to clarify your priorities and highlight criteria for success from the very beginning of the grant award. The SMART mnemonic walks users through important dimensions of a good goal or objective. They should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. We recommend that you reevaluate your goals twice a year to determine whether they should be updated, and also suggest using your data to drive this process. Here are a few examples of well-defined SMART goals that will set your program up for success. While the goals on the right are great goals, they are difficult to measure and not specific enough to measure success. The SMART goals on the left are more comprehensive and include additional detail, including how and when. We encourage you to compare your own goals to the SMART goal methodology and make updates if necessary. In this section, we will talk about how our team helps to ensure data quality throughout the performance management process. We would like to share some tips to improve data quality that you're from the very beginning. It is recommended that a designated staff person coordinates all performance measure data collection and entry to ensure consistency. If this is the first time you will report data, make sure you are familiar with the data you will need to collect and report on. You could do this by reviewing the PDF version of the questionnaire. Ensure a backup person or persons are aware of the collection and reporting process so they can fill in if the designated staff person is unavailable or leaves the role. Consider available data collection methods, including case management systems or other databases, spreadsheets, tracking intake forms, or other methods. If partner organizations are included in your program design, be sure to engage them from the start in the planning process. Determine if formalized agreements are needed to ensure that data is collected and the program meets its goals and objectives. Last, ensure all subrecipient data or data you receive from contracted service providers is reviewed and validated before completing data entry, if applicable. Also, be mindful of the validation alerts built into the PMT and verification outreach PMT help desk. We would also like to share some information about how BJA identifies common challenges and seeks to improve data quality. BJA's Planning, Performance, and Impact team assesses data consistency and accuracy and reaches out to grantees with potential issues. Program grant managers also play a role in enhancing performance data quality through site visits. They identify documentation to verify PMT data entries for major program activities. Previously mentioned, each program has their own unique performance measure questionnaire that assists your program in performance measurement. Many of the questions in the performance measure questionnaire are related. During the data verification process, analysts examine related questions to ensure you are reporting data consistently. Here is an example from one of BJA's tribal programs' performance measure questionnaires. If you report completing community-based alcohol and substance abuse prevention activities, you should also report the populations targeted to benefit from alcohol and substance abuse prevention in the next question. To provide a second example of how some questions are related, certain questions include embedded relationships, where one part of a question may be a subset of another. Question 99 is one example from a performance measure questionnaire of one of BJA's tribal programs. It asks for the number of Healing to Wellness Court or Drug Court program participants who were tested for the presence of alcohol or other substances. The number reported in question 100 should not be larger than the number reported in question 99 because it is a subgroup. This table outlines the data you will typically report on and when your reports are likely to be due. You will need to report on performance measures during the reporting period and respond to the narrative questions semi-annually. Please note that reports are typically due 30 days after the end of a reporting period. Also note that due dates are subject to change. It's always best practice to check with your BJA grant manager to confirm reporting deadlines and other reporting requirements. As we near the end of our presentation, we hope that you benefited from the information and encourage you to reach out to us with any questions. Here is the BJA PMT Help Desk contact information and a list of available resources that will provide you additional information as you need it. Several performance management resources, including certain performance measure questionnaires, are available on BJA's performance website. The link is listed here. At the bottom of that page, you can also view recent training videos with in-depth information about performance measures for various programs. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, except for federal holidays. We strive to return every email within 24 hours, so please do not hesitate to send us a message even after business hours. On behalf of BJA and the Planning, Performance, and Impact team, thank you for your time, dedication, and hard work. This concludes the presentation.